Concerns that freedom of the press is under assault after a top news site and its CEO are charged with tax evasion. The site is called Rappler. It has been sharply critical of the Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte and his administration, specifically what Duterte has labeled a war on drugs. This 2-year-old crackdown has left thousands of suspects dead. Rappler has also spotlighted what it says are disinformation campaigns spread on social media by supporters of the Duterte administration. Maria Ressa, Rappler CEO and a former CNN bureau chief, joins me now live from Paris. Maria, thank you for joining us. Many observers think that this action taken by the government of the Philippines is politically motivated, but we want to hear straight from you. Why do you believe that you and Rappler are being charged with tax evasion?
I've said this numerous times. Since January, these cases, there are numerous cases, including tax evasion, including an anti-dummy law, cyber libel. These are all because we are trying to fight impunity on two fronts. Impunity in the drug war. Human rights activists say as many as tens of thousands have been killed in that. And the second front is on social media. Exponential lies on social media. The lies that have been embedded there, seeded there, are actually the basis of many of the cases that were filed against us by government a year and a half later. We've been fighting this for the last 2.5 years, and we continue to say we have to stand up and fight and demand accountability.
If the government is trying to intimidate you, will it work? Will you be silenced?
No. Kristie, you know this. Standards and ethics. We are journalists, right? And there is no, in many ways, the government's attacks against Rappler have made it very clear to us exactly who we are, what our identity is, and the best part for our young reporters who are there on the ground is how clear and necessary our mission is today. Our democracy is in transition, and what we've done is we've drawn the line. These times have demanded we look at ourselves and we define the values that we live by. The mission of journalism has never been needed as much as it is now, and we'll continue doing these stories.
Yeah, and Maria, that was the response I was expecting. You have not shied away from critical reporting about Rodrigo Duterte, his policies, his brutal war on drugs. But are you concerned about other media outlets in the Philippines, that they could see what's happening to Rappler, what's happening to you, and they would censor themselves?
Look, President Duterte, since he took office, has actually threatened media organizations. We're not the first group, although, he's hit all of the major ones. The top newspaper, he attacked that soon after the drug war began, when they had a headline, a photo that was so evocative that President Duterte attacked the newspaper. Within a few weeks, the newspaper announced it was selling itself to a businessman friend of President Duterte. That sale hasn't gone through yet. The second target of attack was ABS-CBN, the largest television network in the Philippines, the news group that I once headed. President Duterte just a week ago again repeated that he would not renew the franchise of ABS-CBN. I think the reality is all the journalists know that this is a critical moment. But the other thing that's at risk here is the business of journalism. And if you look at the attacks that are being leveled against the news groups, it's on the business end. And this comes at a time when our businesses globally has been challenged by the fact that the tech platforms are taking 90% of new digital ad spend. So we're facing, a lot of challenges. There are many fronts that are open, but I think this only shows you how important it is to do good journalism right now, and also to stand up, to hold the line. I always say that. This is the time to hold the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And a final question for you, Maria, about Duterte and Donald Trump. We know that Trump has called the press the enemy of the American people. Do you think Donald Trump has emboldened Rodrigo Duterte?
Yeah, well, absolutely. In many ways, the two leaders are very similar. When President Trump called CNN and the New York Times fake news, a week later, President Duterte called Rappler fake news. And, you know, of course, President Duterte was ahead of President Trump. In February this year, he banned our palace reporter, Pia Renada, from reporting from Malacanang. He also, by the way, banned me, and I haven't reported from Malacanang, so I can't go there. But when President Trump a week ago took away the press credentials of CNN, it's the same playbook. I think what we're seeing is this kind of seeding of lies on social media leads to authoritarian-style leaders who use their power to push back against our old gatekeeping powers and to intimidate using kind of bullying tactics. Again, it's a global problem. We're seeing as early as November 2017, freedomhouse.org that said that in 30 of 65 countries around the world, cheap armies on social media are rolling back democracy. So this makes the role of the journalist even more important. Look, the last part I'd say is that the algorithms of the social media platforms say that every one of us are entitled to our own reality. But what it forgets is that we all have to live in the public sphere where democracy actually happens. And to have that, we all need to agree on the same facts. And I think that's why journalists are more important today than ever. We need to hold the line.
Yeah.